Hi, everybody. Welcome to our information session. I'm joined here. I'm Lisa Miller. I'm a professor and director of undergraduate studies in industrial and systems engineering, and I am joined by our department head, Professor Saif Ben-Jafar. So he is going to start us off with telling you all about industrial engineering, what do industrial engineers do, and then I will tell you a little bit more about what studying industrial engineering in CSE looks like. So I'll hand it over to you, Saif.
Okay, perfect. So Lisa, you have control of the slides, correct? Okay, so welcome everyone. Great to see the good turnout. I'm Saif Ben-Jafar. I'm head of the Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering, and we're here to get you excited about Industrial and Systems Engineering, or ISYE as we call it. You may or may not know, but ISYE is a relatively new major. It's the newest within the Department of College Science and Engineering about 10 years ago. We're located in the space between mechanical engineering and RAPS and Hull, but we're going to be moving into this fabulous new space within a year. So if you do join us, this is the space you're going to be enjoying, and there are lots of study spaces. The space has been designed with students in mind and with the proximity to faculty, to TA. So I think you're going to find it very conducive to collaboration and interaction. So Lind Hall is where also student services are, and where there is a nice library study space, which will be connected to our space, as well as connection to Starbucks. Important to me, I'm sure it's important to many of you as well. So it's going to be fabulous. So that's one reason, not the primary reason, but one reason to join us. We're also rapidly growing. We started out with a relatively small cohort of students, and last year we graduated about 80 plus students. We are on this growth pattern, and this is something we hope to sustain. With the growth in the college, a distinction of ISYE is its diversity. We're diverse in many ways, but we're diverse in terms of the mix of gender. We're particularly proud of the fact that almost 50% of our students are women. Next slide, Lisa. This is a picture of the class of 2021. Here are photos of our faculty. It's young, energetic, dynamic faculty. We started out with a relatively small group of faculty, and now we're over 15 faculty, with 2 more joining and many affiliated faculty. All of our courses are taught by our regular faculty. Occasionally, we involve folks from industry who bring that perspective. Next slide. Okay, so I don't know how many of you know what industrial engineering is, have heard of industrial and systems engineering. I understand, Lisa, there's a poll that is happening. Okay, do we have results from the poll, or the poll will happen?
Oh, okay. I just launched it, so they
just launched it. Okay, maybe,
yeah,
all right, fine. We'll revisit it. The systems is in the name of the department, is also in the name of the major, and it's something that distinguishes what we do from other types of engineering. So the focus of other types of engineering is on the product and maybe the device level. We focus on the big picture, on the if you may, instead of focusing on the product or the device, we focus on the process through which product and devices, services are delivered. So from the manufacturing to the distribution, to the consumption, to the recycling of these products, so the full cycle. Lisa, I see this poll and I think it's blocking.
Maybe it doesn't want you. Okay, looks like everybody has responded, so I can share the results now.
Okay, so yes, 25%. No, 33%, maybe 40%. Okay, yeah. Hopefully, after this, after today, you'll walk away with a better understanding of what industrial and systems engineering. So systems, examples of systems are many. So include supply chains, the collection of suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, right? Engaging in managing all kinds of flows, the physical flows of products, but also informational flows, financial flows, people flows. Supply chain is one example. Healthcare is another example, right? There, it's a service operation, right? Other than dealing with products, you're dealing with people, providing a service. So you're managing the flow of patients through clinics, for example, deciding on how to optimize appointments. If it's an emergency room setting, making decision about triage, allocating healthcare providers to patients, and so on. And there are many other examples: transportation and mobility, financial services, and many more. So Lisa, next slide. I'm going to actually skip maybe to the just a more concrete one.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna come back to this one. If
Okay.
we can go to the little case study here of just to make things concrete, right? I mentioned supply chains and Amazon, right? In the last year or so, right, we have relied heavily on having stuff delivered to us rather than going to stores, and right, the companies like Amazon have become very prominent, and Amazon is really pure supply chain company, right? So, how does industrial systems engineering fit in the context of the Amazon supply chain? So Amazon sells hundreds of millions of products supplied by millions of suppliers, right? Warehoused in hundreds, thousands of locations. So some of the decisions that a company like Amazon has to make is how much inventory, right, for each product to order, to keep in its warehouses, when to make these orders, and from whom. Often there are multiple suppliers who could provide a particular product. How many warehouses to build, where to build them, and how large should they be? Which markets to serve, and from which warehouse, like how to do the fulfillment. How to decide on prices, right? You may think that prices are fixed, but they are not. Often they're customized to markets. They may be even customized to the profile of a customer. And then how to deliver these products once they're ordered, right? So this involves some long-term decisions about how big of a transportation fleet should I have, planes, trucks, vans, but also how to, in real time, how to make these, how to make the delivery actually happen. So how to load planes, how to load delivery trucks, and how to route them, how to optimize these various processes, right? So what industrial systems engineers do is bring in models, relying on data, algorithms to make these decisions in the best possible way. Best possible way in the sense that it optimizes the experience maybe for the customer, reduces costs for the companies, mitigate impact on the environment, and so on. Okay, so there's a lot of modeling, a lot of algorithms, computing, but also awareness of the business context, right? So awareness also of the human aspect, like how do consumers make decisions about buying stuff, right? So an understanding of human behavior is important. Next slide, Lisa. Here's another example, what I'm calling here Uber logistics. So some of the research I do is in this area of transportation, on-demand mobility. And you can think of Uber as an example of a service system. And here's some of the decisions, right, Uber has to make, right? And has to decide on these often in a, right, market by market, often making these decisions, changing these decisions fairly frequently based on time of day, based on events. So for example, how much to charge riders, all right? When to turn on surge pricing and to what extent, how much to pay drivers, how to incentivize drivers, since they rely not on their own workforce, but on this crowdsourced workforce. How should they do the matching when there's a request for a ride and when there is an available car and driver, which one to assign to which, how to decide on travel routes, what services to offer, how to price them, which markets to enter. So all of these are right, important decisions that affect the bottom line. And an industrial systems engineer will bring in knowledge of how to handle data, how to build models, how to develop algorithms to make these decisions in ways that support the mission of a company like Uber, but also, again, creates a good experience, provide a high quality of service to customers, take into account the welfare of drivers, right? And being aware of the sort of the context in which a service like Uber is operating in terms of policies that may be in place, regulations that may be in place. So I'm going to stop shortly. So at least I can tell you about the specifics of our curriculum, but there are many ways to think about industrial and systems engineering. It's sort of sits at this intersection of engineering, business, data, and computing. So that's one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is that kind of a classical engineer designs products, industrial systems engineer make these products better, cheaper, faster, whether it's a physical product or service. You can think a bit about, instead of a focus on products, it's a focus on processes, right? Sort of how do we improve efficiency, improve quality, improve customer experience. So with that, I don't know, Lisa, should I stop here? I can continue to get the troops excited.
All right, hopefully everyone's feeling excited. So yeah, maybe I will take over here and we can start talking a little bit more about what it looks like to study industrial and systems engineering here at University of Minnesota. And Save, please jump in if you have things you want to add as I talk through these slides. So yeah, as you probably realize now, after kind of hearing about the types of problems, the types of work that industrial and systems engineers do, right? We really want to have a curriculum and have our students take a set of classes that's going to prepare them to do that work. And so that really means combining both really technical courses, right? Courses where you're going to learn the math, the statistics, the computer science, programming, right? Along with that business aspect. So a really strong focus on the fundamentals, plus both those fundamentals that really every engineer has, the calculus, the physics, the chemistry that many of you are taking right now, the liberal education courses, but then getting into more the major specific courses, as well as some electives that we'll talk about. There's a huge range of different career paths that you can follow with an industrial engineering degree. So I'll talk a little bit later on about some of the companies that, that frequently hire our graduates. And then you already saw a picture of the world-class faculty that we have here. So here again is how that curriculum, the courses that we ask our students to take really align to those fundamentals, right? The analytics. So these are primarily your industrial engineering courses where you're really learning about the math and the modeling and the computing needed to solve the problems that industrial engineers solve. And then the economics, the management, the social context. So, so we don't work in a silo, right? And we don't build a supply chain that nobody is going to interact with, right? We have to understand all of those kind of pieces and other stakeholders that touch the systems that we're working on. So that means understanding economics, marketing, and other aspects of business, financial and financial decision making, right? So dollars play a really big role in a lot of decisions that the companies make, right? How can we best use information and an understanding of those dollars to make decisions? And then as you move more into like your junior and senior year, you have an opportunity to take a lot of elective courses. So our curriculum includes 15 credits of what we call technical electives to really help each student tailor the set of courses that you take during your undergrad years, tailor them to prepare you for the career path that you are interested in. So, so what you see here under focus tracks are some really common areas that, that I see our students choose to specialize in. A lot of our students end up with a management minor from the Carlson School. We also have students study like product design, computer science or statistics, either just some courses in those areas or they choose to earn a minor in those areas. We occasionally have some double major students as well. And then on that right side there, we really emphasize throughout the curriculum how all the things that we're talking about in class are used in the real world or would be used in, in the workforce by an industrial engineer. And so Foundations of Industrial Engineering is one of the first courses you'll take. Senior Design is one of the last courses. And in those, plus a lot of courses in between, you'll have an opportunity to work on projects where you are really using the tools that you're learning in your classes to analyze and understand and make recommendations about real world systems that you interact with every day. So here is a colorful version of our standard four-year plan. So this is, what I'm sure you have seen if you've looked on our webpage or in the advising documentation. And one thing I want to really point out as we're looking at the four-year plan is, so the first two IE courses that you'll take are Engineering Economics and Foundations of ISYE fall of your sophomore year. And most of the IE courses that you'll take both then and then through your junior and senior years, we teach just one section a year and just one time a year. And so, so we really see a great sense of community created among our students, because really starting sophomore year, the industrial engineering students from that year are going to take all of your IE courses together sophomore, junior, senior year. So you're with the same students again and again. You're forming study groups sophomore year that you're going to keep studying with those students through the next few years. We usually have, I'd say 70 to 80 students per class. So so small enough that you can really get to know people, that we as faculty get to know you as students. I teach several courses from this grid here. So, so you see the same faculty a couple times, right? And we really get to know you, and we enjoy getting to know you as students. And then again, you can see those red boxes, it's kind of red, where you have a lot of opportunities to explore different areas through those technical electives. I want to mention here too, so I'm mostly talking to a virtual room full of freshmen right now. And for students that decide to major in industrial and systems engineering as freshmen, this is pretty close to the four-year plan that you would follow. We do have a way of adapting this for students who decide maybe partway through their sophomore year that they want to switch their major into industrial engineering. Most students that major in IE didn't come to CSE, to University of Minnesota, planning to major in IE. So it's not a surprise to me that a lot of you don't know what industrial engineering is. That's why we're here, to hopefully educate you and get you excited so that for some of you, this is going to look like a really great option for you as you are really narrowing down your major and deciding what you want to do. So if you do decide later that IE is for you, come talk to us, because we have ways that we can help adapt the four-year plan to help you graduate in 4 years in many cases.
Mm-hmm. And here maybe I'll add a little bit. I know many freshmen were on deciding between CSE and Carlson, and they ended up in CSE, but they also would want that business background, that business profile, and rather than feel like you're giving up on that, ISYE is really this opportunity to bring the two together. Also, some students may decide in many other places that don't offer ISYE. Students may decide after doing engineering for a year or two that, oh, actually what I want is maybe a business degree. Here at the University of Minnesota, you have the option of getting a lot of what a business degree offer without sacrificing the rigor, the technical aspect of it. So it's really we're filling this need for students who want to combine the managerial with the technical.
Yes, I will say we had an alumnus of our program. So he graduated maybe 3 years ago, whose dad is a professor in the business school here. And his dad told him, don't get a business degree, get an industrial engineering degree. So I thought that was a pretty strong vote of confidence in an IE degree. Okay, so this is what studying IE would look like. And when you complete your degree, the vast majority of our graduates go on to directly to careers, or starting their career in industry. We have really great career outcomes. Almost everybody has landed a job within 6 months of graduation, which is kind of the standard that is used. The numbers you're seeing here are from spring 2020, which, if you guys remember, spring 2020 was kind of a crazy time. And so we had actually more students go on to graduate school that year than in a typical year. But the vast majority of our students do find employment or decide to continue on to graduate school. Where do they go to work? So as you probably realized, hearing about the different things that industrial engineers do, there are a lot of different industries and different types of companies that need people with this skill set. So, so there's more, I'd say, traditional companies that design and make products. So 3M, Boston Scientific, right, are examples of companies that are more device focused, I'd say. You see consulting companies like Accenture and West Monroe Partners. You see healthcare. So Optum works with health insurance. We have also had several students recently go on to like Fairview and work directly in healthcare. Retail, so Target and Best Buy are up here. So really a huge number of different directions that you can go with an industrial and engineering degree. I know there's probably a lot of you that are maybe thinking about biomedical engineering right now. And actually Boston Scientific is one of the biggest hires of our employers of industrial engineering graduates. They have a huge number of IEs there. And what they tell me is they can't hire enough IEs because they get them in, they get them knowledgeable, and then they get promoted into leadership positions. And so they are constantly bringing in new industrial engineers, and Medtronic very much the same way. So it's a great opportunity to, if you've always seen yourself working in the med device industry, you don't necessarily need a biomedical engineering degree to do that.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to this, that a lot of our students are also finding themselves kind of in roles where they're leading projects in data analytics. So they're sort of a kind of data science type jobs, which computer science graduates would do, except that I think ISY students have the advantage of that familiarity with the business context, with the knowledge of particular applications, right? So you will get the computing expertise. You'll get to know how to work with data and to extract information, to build models that are driven by data. But also you get to learn about supply chains. You get to learn about healthcare, about transportation systems. And I think increasingly that's something that's greatly valued by employers.
Great, thank you. So in a few minutes, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to turn the floor over to a few of our current students because they really will do the best job of telling you what it's like to study industrial engineering. But before I get to the current students, I want to show you just some quotes that, that I've gathered from previous students. So these are all quotes that last year's graduating class, so May of 2021 graduates, said in an anonymous survey. So I don't know who said what, but they were all really positive comments. This is just a small sample, but some themes that emerged again and again, and I'm sure you'll hear from our current students as well, is kind of that sense of community within the department between both the students, the faculty, and the staff as well. How collaborative our students are with each other. You'll do a lot of group projects. We don't have labs in our courses, but we do have a lot of group projects. That's really kind of our version of labs. And even, you know, when it's studying for exams or working on homework, our students really want each other to succeed. And so there's definitely kind of this collaborative environment. It's not people competing to get the best score on their exams. There's a lot of, I think, recognition that the flexibility that students have with those tech electives to take courses from really all across the university lets them feel like they're really kind of taking courses that are very personalized to what they are interested in.
Hey, Lisa, we have a question.
Okay.
If you don't decide to major in ISY as an undergrad, but hope to keep your options open for graduate school, would it be possible to get into a master's program in a different CSE major?
I can't speak to all CSE majors, but I can speak to our master's program in industrial engineering. And yes, I would say actually probably the majority of our master's students do not have industrial engineering undergraduate degrees. They typically come either with other engineering degrees or with like a math or computer science degree. Good question.
Also related to the graduate a graduate degree, we offer a combined BS and MS. I don't know, Lisa, if you're going to.
I got a slide on that in a minute. Yes.
You're going to mention that.
Yeah.
That's there's a way actually to get a 2-for-1, if you may.
Yeah, I will show that in a minute. First, I want to show this slide, which if you are starting to think to yourself, this sounds kind of interesting to me. I am one of these 2/3 of people who didn't know what industrial engineering was when I logged into the Zoom meeting today. This is, of course, a generalization, but these are some common characteristics that I tend to see among many of our undergraduate students. You're really critical, analytical thinkers. You like kind of working on puzzles, right, and figuring things out. You really enjoy engineering, math, computing for solving business problems. So again, that blending of business and management. Maybe you've thought about getting a business degree, but you really kind of at the core of what you do want there to be that engineering or technical focus. And you really enjoy working with others. So industrial engineering as a discipline is very collaborative. So it's not only something you'll see in your coursework, but in your career as well. You're always working with people from all parts of a company, learning new things really every day. There's no kind of typical day of an industrial engineer. And You just got a preview of our integrated program. So this launched just a couple of years ago, where we wanted to make it really easy for our undergraduates to also earn a master's in industrial engineering in our analytics track, which is one of the options of our graduate program. This is an especially great option for students who, maybe if you came in with a lot of AP credit, or you're a couple semesters ahead in your calculus, things like that. And so you're going to have a little bit of extra space in your senior year where you don't need to take, all courses for your bachelor's degree. You're ahead of your studies. You can start taking graduate courses during your senior year and earn a master's degree in 1 to 2 extra semesters, where usually it would be a 3-semester program.
Lisa, we have a related question.
Okay.
Is it possible to get a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and get a master's in ISYE in the 5-year plan?
There is not like an official integrated program like this. So it would be something that maybe would be a one-on-one basis where you could certainly come in and talk to us about it. And
then one more question.
Yep.
What are some of the benefits career-wise to having this degree that is diverse in both business and engineering, as opposed to having a degree such as mechanical engineering?
Great question.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, you go for it, Saif.
I think it's just the breadth of opportunities, right? If you're a mechanical engineer, electrical engineering, in a way, you're kind of tracked early on, right? There's a particular industry that has a lot of need for mechanical engineers or electrical engineers. Industrial engineers are in demand everywhere because the focus is really independent of the application, right? I mean, you can go in and improve quality or improve delivery processes in any industry. So I would say the major advantage is the breadth of industries and the types of jobs. Like some of our students go into an operating company, right? A company that makes something or delivers service, but many go into consulting. Many go into and do finance. Go and work for a Wall Street firm or a tech firm, build software. So
we have some in marketing.
Yeah. So I would say that's really the you're minimizing risk in a way and maximizing opportunities.
Yeah, I think if you're not quite sure what you want to do, right, this can be a great fit because you can really explore a lot of different things and be prepared and be well qualified to go into a lot of different industries. Often what I hear from students is like they thought that they would really enjoy whatever type of engineering they came in to study, and what they learned as they started taking some of those classes is that it was a little more specific about particular skills or particular products, types of work than what they wanted. They wanted, like Saif said, a broader set of experiences in their career. Something else I've seen and I've heard from our industry partners is that IEs tend to move on to like a leadership path more quickly within a company if that's something that they're interested in. So I think because you get this really diverse experience in your work, you're working with a lot of different people across a company, that knowledge is really valuable in leadership positions.
We have a couple more great questions.
Okay.
Could I minor in industrial and systems engineering while majoring in computer science?
We do not currently offer a minor.
What is an option for that student if they were interested in both of those tracks?
I think choosing your technical electives in a way that you take IE courses. Yeah.
You take IE courses as your electives for your computer science major, or you could major in industrial engineering and take your technical electives in computer science. We've had a small number of students double major in IE and computer science as well.
There's another question. It says, what is the benefit of obtaining a master's degree? It's deepening your knowledge, I would say. The salary there could be a salary differential. Many master's students, the job can be a little bit more technical. So if you're interested in sort of doing a more technical work, being less of a generalist, then a master's degree is a good option. Yeah. But there's not a huge disadvantage of not also doing a master's degree. So it's yeah, there's a lot of learning that happens on the job, and you can always come back and do a master's degree.
Yeah, we've actually seen, I mean, we've graduated, what, 8 classes of students now. And actually one of our master's students this semester in coming to our master's program finished her bachelor's in IE probably 5 years ago. She was one of our earlier graduates. So.
And Lisa, you have some dollar numbers here. There's also the salary, the starting salaries. The starting salaries for ISYEs, depending on which statistic you look at, right? If you look at the mean or the median, it's quite high, and in the range of our higher paying engineering majors. But I would say the upside is much higher in ISYE. Like our highest starting salary last year was 110, which I believe was one of the highest in the College of Science and Engineering. So depending on sort of the kind of career you pursue, there's a huge upside salary-wise.
Great. So so here again, we've talked about our connections with industry and working with different companies. You'll all get to, or all of our students get to experience that with their senior design projects, where companies actually pay the department to have students work on a real project with their company in that final semester of your studies with your senior design project. So that's a really exciting part for the students, for the faculty, and for the companies to get to work with you. So there's just a couple of like other ways outside of the classroom that that our students get additional experiences. And I think actually we have students on our panel who are involved in all of these things. So I'm gonna maybe just mention what they are and then let the students tell you more about their experiences with co-op, right? With study abroad. Actually, study abroad's been really hard lately, and we might not have anyone who's done that yet. We have fantastic student groups that we're involved in, or students from our program are in leadership positions, and then research. So we have a number of faculty who work with students doing undergraduate research, either through Europe, through honors, different ways. There's, I think, a lot of no one size fits all model for undergraduate research. And these are kind of some of the examples of the problems that people are tackling within industrial engineering research. So, so I'm going to stop talking. You can, of course, always reach out to me via email if you'd like to. Katie Sharp, who was popping in with some of your questions, is our fantastic student services professional. She makes sure that all of our students are always well taken care of. And then Saif Ben-Jafar as well. So, so thank you for asking questions of us. And now I hope that you have a lot of questions that you would also like to ask of some of our current ISYE students. And oh, great, looks like all 4 of them are here. So we have Jacob, who is a junior, who just switched into IE this semester, maybe last semester, right? So he's on that adapted program. Natalie is a junior. Molly is a senior, and Catherine is, I call her a senior plus because she's graduating in December. So I'm going to stop sharing so you can see all their wonderful faces, and I will talk a little bit, but only to ask them questions. All right, so thank you guys all for being here. So maybe I'm going to start off with just asking each of you to say a little bit more about yourselves, both when and why did you decide to major in industrial engineering? Maybe we'll start with Catherine. We'll work our way backward.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, so my name is Catherine, and I am what Professor Miller says is a senior plus. I finished all 4 years of the IE curriculum last spring, and most of my classmates graduated, but I have this extra semester before I graduate in December. I actually changed my major to IE at the end of my freshman year. I came in as a BME major, thought that I really wanted to do something in the healthcare field, so I picked BME. Didn't like the chemistry and the physics, but I liked that problem solving. And so I switched my major to IE at the end of my freshman year.
Great, Molly.
Yeah, so I did the same. I switched to IE at the end of my freshman year. I came in as mechanical engineering, mainly just because in high school I really liked math and I liked the idea of engineering, like solving problems. And then freshman year, hated physics. And I actually came to this panel when I was a freshman, and I remember one of the students saying that he was in the same boat I was freshman year. And he really felt that IE gave like really applicable forms of like math and programming, which is what I wanted, because in physics, I just didn't feel applicable. And yeah.
Great, Natalie.
So I also had kind of a similar story. I came to my freshman seminar kind of like this, and I was totally converted to ISYE by it. Because at the time I was focusing in mechanical engineering, and I was contemplating switching to Carlson, and this just kind of was like the perfect fit. So yeah, that's me.
All right, and Jacob.
Yeah, so I switched after my sophomore fall, and the great thing about IE is that after the semester I'll be all on track to graduate in 4 years. But the main reason I switched, I was in bioproducts and biosystems engineering before. The lights keep turning off in here. And I'm really passionate about sustainability, so I thought that would be a good major for me, but it was very specific and I wasn't super into the chemistry and the chemical engineering aspects of it. So I did some networking, and a couple people recommended IE, and I really love it because it's a great combination between business and engineering. And I think it offers good skills, and you can really apply it to like healthcare. I'm looking to apply it to sustainability. There's a lot of different fields that you can apply it to.
Great, thank you. So we're 0 for 4 with you guys coming into college planning to major in IE, which is very typical. So I see there's a question in the Q&A. I'm going to ask my favorite question first, and then I will ask that question and some others about your experiences. What do you like about the major? What are your favorite parts about studying IE here? We can go in the same order, then I don't have to call.
Yeah, I would say that my favorite part about IE is probably the flexibility as well as the community. You know, you come in and there is a 4-year plan and there's a list of technical electives for you to select from to kind of follow a focus if you want to. And I kind of followed that like business track, and I'm getting that business management minor. But also IE allows you the flexibility to lobby for a tech elective if you believe it meets the requirements and kind of closely follows what IE is teaching. I'm really interested in healthcare, and so I lobbied to have the epidemiology class be a technical elective because it incorporates statistics on population, disease, and that kind of thing. And IE was flexible enough to allow me to take that and kind of build that into my healthcare focus in my technical electives. But also, like Professor Miller said, the community. Everybody wants to help you. Nobody wants to compete with you to be better than you. They all are always offering help, whether that's a homework, group project, anything like that.
Yeah, and my favorite part of the major is really just the classes and the professors. Pretty much every single day when I go to class, I feel like I'm learning something that's actually applicable and relevant, which is just a really good feeling. And it's also really makes it much more exciting to learn. In one of my internships, I was pulling up Professor Miller's slides every day to reference it because it's extremely applicable.
I agree. My favorite part about the major is just that combo between business and engineering and how applicable it is to like real world industry. It's not just like formulas and physics that you're learning. It's like actual skills that you're going to apply in your workplace. And like some people have already said, the major community is just awesome. The professors are awesome. Everybody is like, yeah, on your side and like ready to support you. And we also have some great student groups, which Professor Miller touched on, which if you get involved in the major, there's definitely some fun extracurriculars you can also do.
I would say one of my favorite parts is I find like the classes a lot more interesting than typical science and engineering classes. I would argue that learning about like businesses and money and problem solving with that is more interesting than like chemistry or physics. Some of the other majors focus more on that. And then, yeah, I'll just stick with that.
Great, thank you. Molly, I know which slides exactly you were using in your internship. Cool, so there was a question in the Q&A that relates to actually what my next question was around internships. So, so somebody asked, how does getting an internship in ISYE compare to other CSE majors? And in general, I know several of you have done internships, or Natalie is actually co-oping right now. So I'd love to hear more about your experiences, both in finding an internship or co-op, and then what that work experience actually looked like.
I'm assuming the same order for answering, but I've actually had 2 internships over the last 2 summers. I worked for United Healthcare in 2020 and Optum, which is a United Health Group company, this past summer. I personally think that finding an internship is, you're definitely more suited to a broader range of internships because you have a broad skill set and you've taken a broad course load. You can take a data science internship, you can take a supply chain internship, operations analyst. You can even take like a finance one if you want to take the finance track with an IE. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But definitely there's options like going to the career fair to help find those. And even sometimes the Carlson jobs that are open at like the Carlson career fair, you definitely qualify for. Like I said, that supply chain is definitely one of the focuses in IE if you're interested in that.
Yeah, and I would agree with Catherine about going into internships being an IE versus the other majors. You have a lot more options. I've had 2 internships. One of them was in manufacturing engineering and the other one was in operations management. So both of them were honestly completely different. One of them was a lot more technical, and then the operations management, I saw a lot more of the business side of things. So that just shows that with industrial engineering, you can really go into 2 completely different fields.
Yeah, I had kind of a similar experience at my co-op. So I think one thing that distinguishes IE from other majors when you're finding internships is that not a lot of people know what it is. So you really get to sell yourself when you're applying for stuff and like demonstrate that wide breadth of knowledge that you have. That's maybe different from an ME who's like very technical based. Like you as an IE will have that business side that a lot of companies will be impressed by. So I am a junior, and this summer I started in the co-op program at a company in Roseville called CPC. And for those of you that don't know what a co-op is, it's basically like an extended internship. So I'm going to end up doing 3 semesters at this company. So I did my first semester over the summer. I'm currently doing my second semester, and then next summer I'm going to come back and do my third. So over the summer, I did design engineering, which typically is like, they would hire like an ME to do that. And even though I'm IE, like you still have that technical base, and I didn't feel like I was any like less qualified for the job. And it was like a ton of fun. So if you're like me, who is an ME, there's definitely jobs that you can still apply those ME skills. And then this fall, I'm focusing in project management. So I'm shadowing some of the project managers. I'm managing some of my own like smaller projects in the company. So again, kind of like Molly said, I'm getting that business side in this half of my internship, which I think will be a really good experience in the end. I'm having a great time so far, but having not only that technical experience, but also this like management-y, businessy side is really important.
I will add that although you can definitely really twist your mate like ISYE to how you want it to be and really talk about what you emphasized in and what you learned the most. Also, a lot of the companies are familiar with industrial and systems engineering. So in some of the smaller majors in CSE, you have to like explain exactly what you do. But I've found like searching for an internship right now for next summer that companies are familiar with like what an IE's skill set is. But also I really want to do sustainability with that. So if you have like a passion or an industry that you really want to focus on, I found it pretty effective to talk about like the skills you have, and then also, oh, I want to apply it to this. And companies are always interested when you really have like a purpose of what you're looking for in their internships.
Nice, thank you. Let's see. So keep typing your questions, you guys, because you'll ask questions you're more interested in than the ones that I come up with. So maybe what I'm going to ask now is, because all of you learned about IE and decided to major in ISYE after you were already here, what advice might you give, or what might you say to a freshman who is, maybe thinking they're really set on a major, but maybe also questioning what else may be a better fit for them, or, if there's other options?
I would say that like it's okay to change your mind. I came in diehard BME. I thought healthcare BME was the only option. And then it was really hard for me to change my mind and admit that I needed to change my major, in order to be on the right path towards what I wanted to do. So it's okay to change your mind. You can do whatever you want in these 4 years. Do what makes you happy. It's totally okay if you change your mind, as long as you end up where you want to be.
Yeah, I would say it's important to remember that you can get to the same place, the place that you want to go to, going IE or going, mechanical or BME, you can ultimately get to the same place. So it's really going to be about the classes that you're taking for the next 4 years and making sure that you're excited and interested in those classes. So reaching out to ISYE professors, current students, to find out more about what you're actually going to be doing and learning and studying for the next 4 years of your life will help a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna second both of you guys. Just keep an open mind and definitely just research ISYE. If it even sounds remotely interesting, there's definitely some overlap with the major that you're already thinking about. And you might find that this is even a better suit for you. So definitely keep an open mind and research it as much as you can.
My biggest piece of advice would be to do a bunch of informational interviews with either companies or like professionals that you're interested in their positions, and really then question whether what your major is, if your major is moving you towards those positions and like those type of companies. And yeah, and that's really how I ended up in ISYE. But if that takes you somewhere else, that takes you somewhere else. But ISYE is really broad, allows you to do really whatever you want to do with it.
I'm going to add their answers. If you think maybe it'd be a fit for you, you are always welcome to come meet with somebody in the department as well, either myself or Professor England or Katie Sharp, who we all do advising and are available for advising appointments, and would love to sit down with you and talk more about kind of what your interests are and what your courses that you've taken are and what majoring in IE would look like. So there is, let me see. And the first question that's here, I'm going to direct at you, Molly, because I know it's something that you've thought about. How math-based is ISYE? If someone's currently a math major hoping to go into a more applied area, but I'm unsure about what path to take.
Yeah, I can take that. So I have always loved math. That's always been my thing. But once it started getting to the higher, like theoretical math, it just did not feel relevant to me at all. And I would say that ISYE has a fair amount of math, but it's all more applied math and using math ideas and more like math thinking, if that makes sense. And I would say you can take ISYE to be more math heavy if you want. I'm much more interested in the analytical technical side of things rather than the business side of things. And yeah, you can make it more math heavy if you would like.
Yeah. Most of our faculty actually have math degrees as our undergraduate degrees. So it's a very much a math focused program. So somebody else asked, would it be reasonable to pursue law school after a degree in this major? So I can answer this one because I know former graduates who are graduates who have gone on to law school. I think there's about 1 or 2 per graduating class that end up either right away or after a couple of years going on to law school. Let's see. And then why is chemistry a prereq for the major? Do you do much chemistry? Great question. Have you guys ever used chemistry in any of your classes? No. So it's a prereq for the major because it's a prereq for all engineering majors, because part of our accreditation for an engineering degree program requires students to have taken a certain amount of chemistry and physics. So that is why our students take it. I mean, I think there are people who end up using chemistry and kind of the types of thinking that they learned in chemistry in their careers. And we've had several people, several graduates, for instance, go on to work at ExxonMobil, which is very much a chemistry and chemical engineering driven company. So there are some relevance there in actual work, but for the most part, it's because it's part of becoming an engineer. Good. I'm not seeing any other open questions. We have just a couple minutes left, I guess. Instead of me asking a specific question, is there just anything else that you guys feel would be helpful for these students to hear today?
Yeah, it's something I wanted to say when somebody asked the last question that we all answered. Even if you don't end up in IE, explore some of the IE classes as like your technical electives, because I lived with 4 other female engineers all through college, and we weren't all IE, but the ones who weren't, who were BME or Mat Sci, took IE classes as their technical electives and would tell me, wow, your classes are so interesting, your classes are so fun, and everything seems so applicable. We're learning how to calculate something, and I'm never going to use this again, I'll have friends who graduated and text me who didn't major in IE and said, you know, I wish I would have taken more of your classes because I need what you guys learned for the last 4 years. So everything we learn is very applicable, and all of the classes that we take are very interesting and very applicable.
Great. Safe. Do you want to say any final words before we wrap up?
No, I mean, how can I follow this? No, I would just echo that the major offers a great deal of flexibility and lots of opportunities when you graduate. It's this really perfect blend of engineering, business, increasingly data and computing. So if you're interested in engineering, this is a good major for you. If you're interested in data science, computer science, it's a good major for you. If you're interested in business, this is a good major for you. Yes, cannot lose by being an SYE.
Great. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to our panelists. I'm going to give you a round of applause, even though we can't hear all the students. I'm sure they're applauding as well in the audience. You guys you're really our best advocates for the major or the students that are currently in our program. So thank you all for being here. And thank you all for coming to the information session and for asking your questions. And I welcome you to reach out to myself or others in the department at any time if there's any questions we can answer for you.
Yeah, please do.
All right.